Hi, I'm Kiran Krishnan, your friendly neighborhood microbiologist, and this is your Microbiome Moment. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about stress and how stress has both a direct and profound effect on your brain, but it does it through the microbiome. So there's a growing body of evidence that has shown that stress can have an impact on changing the homeostasis within your gut ecosystem. Even short bouts of stress, as demonstrated by this study here, published in January of 2021, shows that even short bouts of stress can change what the ecosystem looks like within your microbiome, and in fact, favor the growth of some organisms that are gram-negative that actually start to increase oxidative stress on the lining of your gut. That oxidative stress increase also increases inflammation. When you have oxidative stress and inflammation being increased on the lining of the gut, it actually translates to all other linings within your body, including your brain. And in this case, they studied the barrier or the lining around the hippocampus. And what they showed was that a leaky gut led to a leaky brain around the hippocampus, and that leakiness in the gut and the change in that ecosystem within the gut actually led to inflammatory damage and oxidative stress to parts of the hippocampus. In this case, they were studying an animal model of early onset Alzheimer's disease, and they were showing that that constant leakiness in the gut that drives leakiness in the brain can actually start disrupting the membranes within the brain, leading to the beta plaquing and the inflammatory damage that you see in neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's. However, this is applicable to any kind of damage that occurs within the brain, because the hippocampus is, of course, the center for memory, the center for learning, and also the emotional center of the brain. So if you've got inflammatory responses going on in that part of the brain that's causing disruption and damage, and those inflammatory responses are coming because of a leaky gut, and that leaky gut is a result of a shift in the balance within your microbiome, and that shift in the balance of your microbiome is coming due to stress and even short bouts of stress, then what's happening essentially is these short bouts of stressful exposure are leading to dysfunctions in that critical part of your brain. And if it disrupts memory and learning, it's something that you'll feel way before a long-term condition like Alzheimer's ever sets in. You know, if you start to feel things like short-term memory loss, inability to recall things, inability to memorize things the way you used to be able to memorize them, and then also emotional distress, because remember, it's the emotional center of the brain. A lot of that can be driven by oxidative stress in that tissue and inflammation or neuroinflammation. In fact, the term is oxy-inflammation in the neurological system, and that all stems from the gut and changes in the gut homeostasis, and gut homeostasis is affected by short bouts of stress. So from a practical standpoint, think about it this way. Short bouts of stress are things we are all exposed to, right? Whether it's the commute to work and somebody cuts you off and that increases your emotions, and you decide to honk at them and they honk back and they flip you the bird, and you go through all this kind of conflict, that increases your stress quite dramatically, right? And although you are now engaged in this emotional affair that's going on momentarily, that small bout can have a huge impact on your microbiome, and then that can have a huge impact on your brain as well. Let's think about social media. You know, one of the practices I try to keep is I try to disengage from conversations and threads and arguments on social media that cause stress but don't really have a productive end, right? If a conversation has a productive end, even though it's stressful, that's fine. For example, if you're arguing with your partner about something and you need to come to some resolution, the argument at the time may seem stressful, but the resolution is important. But engaging online where there's not going to be any productive end that causes you stress, just think about it further now that you know this information. Is that temporary bout of stress that important? Because remember, it can trigger a disruption in the homeostasis of your gut microbiome that increases the growth of certain gram-negative bacteria that starts to cause oxidative damage and inflammatory damage in your gut lining, which then makes your brain leaky in areas like the hippocampus. Once your brain gets leaky, the inflammatory markers and oxidative stress markers in the brain increases. That causes neurodegeneration and neurodamage. And when you're younger and you're not at risk for things like early onset Alzheimer's disease, you may experience that as brain fog, memory loss, slower cognition, emotional distress, and so on. Then as you age, as that neurodegeneration progresses, it may lead to more serious conditions like Alzheimer's or early onset Alzheimer's. So thank you again for watching. Hit the notification so you can get notified when the next Microbiome Moments is posted, and we'll be posting these quite frequently because I want to keep you guys up to date on the latest research and the latest science. Thank you.